sandwiched in. It's sandwiched in with it's HB number 1823. I'll show you in a little bit where you can go see that. But it's not just that. That whole deal is packaged with a lot of things. None of it is anything tied to the Texas Real Estate Commission, which is TREC, or what we call it. And that's where you get your licenses and things like that, and you're governed under things. But TREC also handles a whole lot of things, not just even real estate. It is and it isn't. Again, things are lumped in there. This particular item, when you look at things, and some people will say you can't do lease options, it's because they don't know. I've actually had attorneys I've talked to, and when I show them this, when I'm interviewing an attorney, it's for a couple of things. I'm doing something to see if they might be a good candidate. A, you have to know more than me or you can't work for me. I'm not here to school you. And if you're going to be defiant and argue with me, then no, I'm not going to hire you. The other thing is I'm also fishing for maybe they or themselves might end up knowing, man, this guy might be pretty good. It might be an opportunity where they would work as a good private lender, but I let them ask me. You can't go ask people about that. That's not what this class is about. But so I hate to go zigzag, but I'm covering a lot of things that I do because all of it are little things in your utility belt. You know, you're the superhero. You first have to identify the person's problem that you're calling. You have to get that rapport to unmask a few things to figure out what the problem is. And they have to trust you enough. It's not just as simple as, well, I know you're on this list. Well, nobody's going to talk to you with comfort like that if you attack them that way. But when you're doing it, you're talking about price. And the good thing about a lease option is you can get to it faster by saying, you know, well, hey, I just want to know who to make that check out for, things like that. With that, you're going to uncover it. And the closer you get to the market price or the top price, you're going to need more terms, right? You're going to need time. Now you can do that in a couple different ways. You can get them under contract at first as a lease option, and you can get a tenant buyer in there. You guys all know that, so I don't need to role play that one back and talk. But what you do different in Texas, so get to the nuts of it here. There is something where I've heard people talk about it's nothing in this actual law, and it's about you can only do it for 6 months. Where that really is actually the old way. It's under the TREC guidelines. You would never do a lease option for 6 months anyway. It doesn't matter. But it's still stuck there. It's kind of like there's some towns where there's no spitting on the sidewalk from the 1800s, but they're not going to enforce it. Well, the point is that I don't even use a TREC contract. I mean, I use a standard lease contract like you got. And but when you're doing that, that just want to say that when some people will say that kind of a number to you, like, well, hey, you have to do this. You have to know more than they do when you're talking to like an agent or realtor. Like I'll have agents that'll come around and I'll be talking to them, but when they want to get real defiant, they're not in the best interest of their client either, because they're refusing to learn. I've talked to people it was just a coincidence. I was at an event, and I won't tell you the real estate school, but it's here in town. And she's one of the teachers there. She was absolutely defiant. Like you'd have thought I said the word sub two, which is enough reason for them to get upset. But when I said, well, I help people with some lease options, things like that, so they can get more money for their house. But what am I really doing? I'm also cutting into their rhubarb, as far as an agent goes. So that's the reason that they consider me the bad guy, but they tried to argue it by its legality. And when I share with it, they don't know, even the teacher of it. So they teach them from the get-go that you just can't do these things. And when I was first trying to figure it out, that's what people told me, but they would never tell me why. And I'm one of these that goes like a kid. You have to have in any business level you got, you have to have I guess it's a bulldog mentality with a childlike mind. And your kids will go, why? Are we there yet? Why? Are we there yet? You have to ask questions. And the better we get at this is asking the better questions, which makes us better when we're talking to clients. Can we get to the source of the problem quick enough? And simultaneously, the longer they're talking to us, building a rapport. Yeah. So when you want to present them with options, hey, I've got a couple of options here that we could do. Now I can do this really quick and get you a very reasonable cash offer and close. Or if you allow me the opportunity, I can get you more money, but I need time. Now that can still go a couple different ways. That can go, I'm going to promote them to a lender, like if I'm talking to let's say it's they're not in a desperate situation, but it is probate. Okay, just use that example. Probate. I never know which way we're going to go because I don't know the situation when I'm first talking to them. But when I get to talking to them, it might be that I was going to give them a cash offer and they want to be done with it. But the truth is, I find out, they're really not in a bind for money and things like this. I got looking at it and I go, hey, I may have an opportunity where you get more money. I don't know if you'd be interested in that. You got to wait, pause, and let them catch up. But I'll convert it to a lease option because the truth is, it really wasn't in bad shape. Now, I've actually had one like that I was the lease option. And I actually did that, and that went down another portfolio because it was in such a good shape that I actually turned it into one of my short-term rentals. But that's a whole nother class too, which that's just an amazing business. But I was still the end buyer. And in Texas, you can go 36 months. I never, ever, ever write up a 36-month contract. I always write up 12 to 18 months. And the reason why, I'm way in my buffer zone, because you can redo the numbers and all that kind of stuff, but I'm way in the buffer zone, and I know that I've got them going in. My mortgage person is, he's done the part. I don't have to keep up with the credits and all that stuff. He looks at it and goes, after he's interviewed them, yeah, I think we can probably do it. They process it. They know that's going to be down the road money for them. They're going to get their origination fee and everything when they close the loan. So that's just somebody that you build a relationship with.
So we can do a lease option in Texas for 36 months, no more, but you never really want to do that because you don't want to run over the time frame accidentally, right? Is that what you're saying? So you'll set it up for 18 or 24 months or something like this.
Yeah. How many have you been in a closing when you're the buyer or the seller and it just something happened and it ran longer?
Well, when you're dealing with the seller, are you still getting 36 months, or are you just talking about in reference to the tenant buyer? Like when you go to dispose this deal, are you giving that guy 18 to 24, but you actually got 36 in your pocket?
No,
here?
I do. If I'm doing a traditional lease option here, I don't get any of the middle money, the sandwich, no such thing.
Right.
The only way I get that, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is a little creative.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't matter. You're going to assign that deal over. And so whatever it was is whatever he gets.
Right. Whatever I get, my 4 or 5%, whatever I set up on how I do it.
So so that's why you're doing 18 to 24 months or something like that instead of 36, because you want to make sure that you don't put that dude in hot water.
Right.
Okay.
Because technically, if I wanted to be, you're not doing anything wrong if you bow out of the picture, but I like to stay in touch because I want to make sure that everything went okay. There's a good rapport. And if for any reason they exercise or their life changed or they exercise the option not to move forward, or it turned out they didn't do what they were supposed to do, and therefore they're not going to be able to move forward. So we've got time, we start over, but by me not just going vacant, the seller still has that rapport with me and trust that I'm going to deliver. Now, I had one time when that did happen. They needed to pass on the deal, and they'd been in there 14 months. It was a 12-month deal, but at that point, they were just still trying to get it approved, and it was going month to month. They went ahead and stepped up and said that they weren't going to be able to move forward and pull it off. So did the mortgage person. I went back to this particular seller, was just communicating with him and reconnecting, and he thanked me for not leaving him hanging on it. And I said, well, look, I can do a couple things. What's your situation right now? Do you still need all that money or want all that money? Do you want to go through this? I can get you another approved buyer, or I'm in a different situation now, which I was, and I could, but before I plug these funds in somewhere else, maybe I can just take it off your hands. In which case, that was more gearing to him. I did manage to give him a little more money, and we ended up doing a little bit of a sub-2 situation. So I granted him a little more money, but still he's out of the picture. And then I just did a wrap and put a buyer in it, because ultimately there's nothing better than rent to own or owner finance. But lease option is a way for me to get the initial rapport built and have control of the property. It's just another thing in the utility bill. But I've never gone to people directly marketing mentally that I'm marketing for a lease option. It's like that one other thing where it's like, well, hey, I have an idea. Like, it's just, I just thought of something, and I'll have that sort of backdoor deal, because they're so used to like Sharona,
Yeah.
she either had a bad experience or she knew someone had a bad experience. And so words like that are scary to them, especially if they really went through it and they had a bad experience. So I'm doing it because I'm just like, hey, well, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. Which one of these sounds best to you and works out for you?
Yeah.
And then you got to let, they're buying in and they're choosing. When they choose, well, I don't like that, that, or that, and I'm certainly not going to take that cash offer. Okay. Well, but you know, and again, you make them choose again, and they're choosing the options. It may be that that's the only option because of the criteria, the
Yeah.
situation. Who knows?
Yeah. So I think that's huge what you just said there, everybody. You probably heard me say it like this. Everybody, every lead you call, even though they responded positively to your text blast, asking if they would consider a rent to own or whatever your wording was, they responded positively. Every one of them wants to talk about cash.
Mhm.
Will you buy my house for cash? Close traditionally, let me just take a pocket full of money or whatever it is and go my way, just like old regular sales of homes work. So you got to kind of talk about that a little bit with them. Well, you know, as an investor, you know, like I told you, I'm an investor. It's going to be hard for me to give you your full asking price there and still make a profit. So I'm not going to be able to do that. So let's take that off the table. But real quick before I go, like Kenny said, I have this idea. Let me say this may work. And then you tease them with it a little bit. What if I did? Imagine if I were to do this.
Mhm.
And that's your creative offer. That's what you're talking about, right, Kenny?
It is.
Yeah, that was awesome, dude. I
Let's
hope
say they
everybody
don't,
caught that.
because I got all those roadblocks that sometimes we feel when we kind of go at it from that one way. And so it evolved from making what I felt were mistakes on my part by trying to go at it from one way. Now I figure out where the deal is and how much is the least amount of money out of my pocket to put this under contract. And then I'll figure out one of my different exit strategies. Obviously, mailbox money later is fine. I really don't do much flipping anymore. It was nice to have the experience, but you know, I was not doing it before things went through the roof anyway. But it was just, there's just too much. There's too much today money, which an assignment fee or consideration of option is more or less the way is your fee per se. And you know, I'm very transparent. You know, the contract it's not like they have two different contracts. They all know everything. Everything's right there for everybody. They all sign the same contract. It's all handled, and I just do cash for keys, and I get the seller's check, and I get, you know, my check. And if I'm going to go that route. However, with the price of real estate and everything that's happened in the last little bit, it hasn't been the one that hasn't been the most attractive for the customer lately, but it's about to swing. And getting back to where I started with the mod and the different options, we're about to swing way back to that looks real good because supply is about to go through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when there's too much supply, the prices neutralize down and things like that. So, so that's going to happen as soon as things kind of open up in the courts and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
They move through. It's just, but we are the creators. We are the mental creators of financing. So we just solve problems. You know, we're not on any one side of anything other than, hey, we've identified your problem. I believe that's what you're telling me is bothering you. And then, well, I have some options here. You know, and that's all. Yeah. That's all we do. It's not personal. It's not. It's just got to make the math, and you don't apologize for what. Sure, you're making money.
Sure,
there's nothing wrong with that. But you just set it up and you show. But you're the one that has the connectivity. You're the one that has the buyer. You're the one that can get the buyer. And go ahead.
So you were explaining to us how in Texas it's up to 36 months, but you don't really set it up that way because it's an assignment only. You're not doing sandwiches at all in Texas.
Can't do that.
So you can you can wholesale your lease option. And so in order to stay within policy here, You want to make sure you don't go beyond 36 months, not even 36 months and a day. That's not even okay.
No.
So you want to make sure you
Contract's
set
null
it
and
up.
void. Your title company won't even
Yeah.
take it.
So you want to set it up at like 18 to 24 months. What other things like that, Kenny, do we need to know?
You have to be a really good judge of where you are with the actual seller. What is their threshold for paying and their motivation to sell? So by that, that'll lead you to how could I convert that later? So let's say I got them under contract for a lease option, but after marketing it and doing everything, you see an opportunity where you have a buyer. They're probably not going to be in what you call a tenant approved buyer from your mortgage person. But for some reason, you're in a position. So you might be able to go back and convert that to a deal with that person and actually set up and do a wraparound owner finance. And not to get convoluted, but you have to get off the lease option package. That's the whole point. So that keeps you in the loop, because now you've got a contract to fulfill with that person. You in turn,
Yeah.
let's say I sold it for 250, but I bought it for 250. I've got a person that's going to give me 40 grand down, which won't matter in a lease option because you don't put more money down. You deal with that with the mortgage company, but they are walking around with train riding American dollars. So you take that money, put it in the bank of right, and then I could turn around and sell that now house for 280, which would never get approved and appraised, but it doesn't matter because you're going to carry the owner finance note. And statistically, if you look it up, when you're doing owner financing, you think you're going to be riding this note out. It's most recent numbers I've heard is somewhere between 7.3. They either refinance your loan or they move. So your notes are going to kind of mature out. What happens when they move? Well, then I'll get paid that other. The person's going to get the 250 or whatever my terms are. A lot of times with them, I'll if they're willing to do that, I'll set it up for a 240-month deal with them, and they get a balloon note or thereabouts, or however we do it, because it's always going to be the note. It's predicated on the fact that I have to scoop my taxes and HOA and everything, and that's fine. I'm going to get the down the road money when they actually pay it off or refinance, and either way, I'm going to bring in a private lender and flip it out another way, or use my own funds from another deal. That's just not to get y'all confused. I just want you to see that every person you're talking to, that they have to answer these questions. Are they the owner of the property? Yes. Are they willing to sell? Yes. And then when you get to talking, are they willing to consider for more money later? Or are they willing to consider terms? And that's what's going to take you down this road. Otherwise, you stop and you make them your best cash offer and you move on.
Yeah, makes sense. So I've got a folder, Kenny, of Texas stuff that you gave me.
Yeah. Do you want me to share some of the stuff I have on that? I was going to show them a few things, and I'll come back to that.
Yeah, or I was going to offer to share. It's up to you, however you want to do it, or at all.
Well, I've got a flyer. I don't know if you have. They may want to take the ideas, and then I'll come off screen and I'll give it back to you. Here, I'll put in here. Do I have access?
Yeah, you should be able to share screens.
Okay. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
All right. That's a brochure that my wife put together, actually. And that's us, Lone Star Key Property. She actually created the logo. So this is just a quick deal that nice, subtle, that you can make it a trifold. And there's the back page. These are just some things that sometimes it's just nice to have something when you're first meeting and talking to people, and or you can email that over and things like that. You want to do some kind of a credibility package, but that's true of anything, whether it's your website parking or anything. That's something that we've done. I'll be happy to send that to Justin if y'all want it. It's no big deal. If you want to,
That'd be cool.
also, I wanted to show you. Hang on a second. Here it is.
That's a good looking brochure.
Okay, write this down, texas.public.law. That's the URL. That's the actual website.
Okay, texas.public.law.
And then just to save some hassle, I've already gone to it. It's HB 1823. Whole lot of stuff in there. The short version is you want section 5. 1062. And then I've got some of the stuff that you're talking about, Justin, that I've already highlighted out. But this is where you can actually go see it yourself. You don't have to go what Kenny said, because that should never be your line of defense. You know, you need to do your own due diligence on it and everything. But I wanted to make sure you guys saw that. If you there's a copy of that breakdown of that law. Oh, and that's TREC. I was just talking about the Texas Real Estate Commission. This lease option law has nothing to do with anything in real estate in Texas. That's why I wanted to validate what I was trying to tell you.
Kenny, you sent me an email one time explaining all this, and I took the email and I cleaned it up a little bit where it wasn't just you and me chatting.
Yeah.
And I've got that too, but I put it all on a PDF, and so it breaks down each of these laws. You mind if I share that?
No, absolutely. But I wanted them to see a few little tidbits I'd pulled out for them. And then you'll have that breakdown of that law, and that's probably in what you did.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. And that'll be kind of helpful, because you could go through it and it would just scramble our brains, I'm afraid, not understanding the legalese and so on and so forth. But try,
before I forget, sorry.
Try clicking that.
What's different about with the big so-called secret that different people will tell you? You have to know that you have to be under 36 months. So you could write a contract for 36 months, but I wouldn't, you know, if you can't get them approved in 24 and 18 months or 12 months, a lot of times it's an 18 to 14 month deal that we're done. So we'll do a 12-month contract. We can go month to month, or they're close out. And we also have the agreement with the seller that there's no penalty if they close out in 8 months, because you got your freaking money and your debt's off your back. So, well, I actually had one that he thought, well, what happened to those other months? I'm thinking, man, everybody did everything right. What are you talking about? But I had to point out to him that it's not a terminating contract early. That's not going to happen that way. But, you know, some people just that way. The one thing you need to do is not that they act like it's some big secret, and you have to go to, what's that? Hold on. You probably have it, Justin, but let me find that document.
Which one are you looking for? Did everybody get the one that I just shared in the Zoom room chat here? That's the actual kind of the breakdown of the Texas law, and it's got the statute numbers and so on and so forth that reference it. So that should really fill in a lot of blanks for you on the actual what the law in Texas itself says. That this is something Kenny provided me, and now I'm providing it to you guys. But hopefully that helps. Did everybody get it?
You guys see it, right?
Okay, great. And you guys are looking at something else here now.
Well, this is in those documents that I gave Justin too, but I mean, I'll give them back to y'all. This is not some big secret. If you're doing a sub 2 or something, you're going to need to get access to where, for privacy reasons, that the lien holder will talk to you, right? Or the HOA company will talk to you, because you aren't deeded to the property. So it's not a big secret, but a lot of people just don't want to tell you. The thing is, I'll tell everybody. So when you do a lease option in Texas, you have to fill this out, just like you'd get, because you have to then turn over the access to the lien holder, as well as they need to be sending the statements to you, just like you're doing a sub 2 and is in an HOA. So you take control of that now, and you have the right to talk to them and call them and everything else. Those 2 documents have to go with your lease option. The seller has to fill those out and sign those. Whereas in other places, you don't have to do that. I mean, you can run the risk in other places where you don't make the payments and everything, but you got to hope that the owner's going to make the payments. I always want to do everything and set it up. And then whoever I put it together, I put it with an RMLO, and then they're going to turn around and they pay. It's like $35 a month or $30 a month, but they pay the fee anyway. So you just build that relationship with whoever you want to use. The buyer's paying that, not the seller. I said seller, but I meant buyer. And just like they're paying the fees for you. Anyway, I'll stop sharing, but those documents are in what Justin's got, and people act like it's some big mystery, but it's not. So that's why I want to unveil the mystery and open the raincoat. This is nothing complicated, but you do need those documents with your lease option. When you process it, you do need to have communicative authority to make sure the HOA is up to date, because you get caught up in this, you're not doing your buyer a service if they're behind.
Mhm.
And you need to take control and make sure the sellers are then protected. You just can't assume the buyer. I mean, they need to make their payment and then all those funds get dispersed. And if you're doing a deal where the payment is actually, let's say, he's getting 300 a month or something, it's not really a sandwich. It's just you've established what the rent's going to be with the seller. You're not getting any money, but the seller might be getting $300 over. If it works out that way. I've never done it, but it could work out that way. Generally, when they're taking this option, they're hoping to get this off their back,
Right.
or, so this really never been, it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
I've never personally done it with it, but you could do it. You're not doing a sandwich when you do that. A sandwich is where you're putting your hand in there and money's going to you.
So you'd just be creating revenue for the homeowner if you were to create a monthly spread like that.
If you're trying to close them and you needed to throw something in there. Yeah. If it's there, if it's not there, it's not going to work, but yeah.
Yeah. I just put the lien holder notice there, those 2 documents. I just put the link to that right there in the Zoom room chat room also. So grab that while you're here, guys and gals. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate all these gold nuggets. Kenny, appreciate it very, very much. Didn't mean to distract everybody either or detract from what you're saying, man.
No, at this point, I can tell you different things with scenarios, but somebody got some questions?
I got a question right off the bat. The lease option, you said you don't use the TREC, which is the state realtor agreement, right? Basically.
Right. And we got a new one after all these years. We were TREC 1.4. Those of y'all that are doing anything in Texas, we were TREC 1.4, but effective April 1, we went to TREC 1.5, which is like 7 more pages. But you don't need to do that for a lease option. Now I do my documents. I do any of my deals. I don't have to do it on a TREC. You can do a 1-page quick little deal. But by the time I prep it for my attorney, title attorney and everything, I do get it on a TREC, but not for a lease option.
Okay.
So TREC. What do you mean by TREC?
That's the state
Texas Real Estate Commission. We just call it a TREC, and it was TREC 1.4. Now, as of April, it's TREC 1.5 is the new document.
I just put a link to it here in the chat room.
It's all, it's all free in the state of Texas. I mean, you just get the document. I can give it to you, but if Justin, I think I gave it to Justin too. But
I just put it here in the chat. Yeah. I got the new one too, I believe. It was dated November 11th, November 10th on 2020. No, the date up on the document, top right-hand corner.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when the 1.5 came out, but might have been last April. Yeah, you know what? It might have been. I'm saying it was this April.
So I think that one's I think that's the new one, but
whatever.
Anyway, it's free. Yeah, you could grab it from Google probably. If you needed to. Okay, so you don't really use the TREC, but you are using
I only stay off of lease options with it.
Okay, so when you're doing a lease option, you're not using the TREC. You're using a lease option agreement.
Yours is fine.
Tell us about that. Mine is fine, so it doesn't require any additional wording or.
You just need those 2 pages I just showed y'all that you gave them.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, yours might be. I choose that mine actually is the same. It's the same throughout. I have it has the agreement that the option is going to be to buy and everything, and then so it's not 2 different contracts. I'm not saying you. That's just a choice I make. That it's written up with. It's one document for them.
So what you're saying is you're using a combo agreement, lease with option, all together, one document, rather than a lease and then an option.
Right.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty standard.
But that's not Texas. I mean, that's just Kenny.
That's pretty professional. I mean, that's just exactly what anybody ought to be doing anywhere, really.
I'm gonna tell you, it really eases the neck muscles for both parties, and they feel very transparent instead of well, you're making blah blah blah. Yeah, you're right. Can't fool you.
Yeah,
I don't apologize about it.
But the best part is you get to walk away today because we did exactly everything we promised we'd do. Doesn't that make you feel good, Mr. Homeowner? Well, that's eye-opening for me because I was thinking it had to be a special. I know a guy that knows a guy.
Man, these are those guys.
And he has like a Texas lease option agreement package. It's like 20 pages long.
Wow.
And he's like, you got to use this in Texas. And I'm like, what? And it's very, very expensive to buy those documents from him, which he'll be more than willing to sell you. So not so though, just a straight lease with option agreement.
Mhm.
And those 2 additional documents keep it less than 36 months.
Mhm.
That's about it, right? On the lease options game in Texas?
And don't try to sandwich. Don't even pretend.
And don't sandwich.
I can promise you. I don't know what the penalties will be, but I promise you they'll make an example of you.
Well, we don't want to be an example, that's for sure. So
You just don't. I mean, there's too many ways to make money and do the right thing and help people. So there's no reason to, and why?
yeah.
There's just no reason to do it.
Do we have any questions here in the room about this Texas stuff? Anybody that's from Texas in
I had a
particular?
question.
Yeah, let's hear from some Texas
Yes, sir.
people.
I had a question. Hey, Kenny, my name is Jen. Hey, I really appreciate you coming out here. Initially, I thought Justin was bringing out John Jackson, but between me and you 10 times better. I'm in Houston too, so I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm not asking for any money, so
And no bus on John Jackson. It's just the fact of like you really like closer to home. But I had a quick question. Are you able to, in Texas for lease options, are you able to put some kind of a writing that gives a penalty to the tenant buyer if they choose not to exercise? Can you do that kind of stuff?
Well, I like Justin has a good analogy. One thing about the way we do real estate and any type of creative financing is like water. And Justin, I've heard him say that several times. You can do within the confines of, legal, you can write up anything you want. And that's illegal, documented, dated, notarized. So yes, I mean, if you want to assess a penalty, they don't option, but when I've had them not take the option and you're really trying to help somebody, if you're doing your business and you've got income coming in, the winner's you. Because now you're in a better position to figure out how to take control of that property another way. You're still taking care of your seller. So I've never even occurred to me to penalize a buyer that, because I collected, there's a few times I've had to collect fees a couple of times by putting another buyer in, or I took over the property itself. Win-win-win. And I didn't need to penalize anybody. So you could do it. I just never even occurred to me to put it in there. And I'm not saying I wouldn't, it's never even occurred to me to bring it up because I'm going to win if they default.
I didn't, I appreciate that. I wasn't talking so much about you, maybe like to help the seller along to kind of add that extra carrot in there to see if they'd be open to a lease option. Because sometimes sellers want some kind of certainty that somebody's going to buy, even though, the option itself means that there's no certainty to it. But it's just that added piece that might, give some leverage on whether the person to exercise it.
I've had a couple of people bring it up to me that say, hey, what's the guarantee they're not going to buy it? And I tell them, well, you want me to guarantee it that I'll buy it? Which all we're doing is going right back to where we were. Yeah, I guarantee you, I'll make you a reasonable offer right now today. I mean, I'm going to go wherever you want to go, Mr.
So how do you do that, Kenny? I mean, what do you can't sandwich it then. So what's your strategy then in that case?
Sandwich it. I mean, I'm out of the picture, but when I had the ones that they were not going to be able to come through, what the mortgage person told me, or they volunteered that this happened, that happened. And instead of things going forward, that they kind of went backward, and they know, try to stay in touch, help them out. I've hooked them up with other people and they get them a rental. And I told the person that I was hooking them up with, I said, look, it's just a connection. You don't always make $1 on everything. Sometimes you're just connecting people. And look, I'm not making a dime today. I mean, you're just trying to help people. And if you have that hospitality heart, you'll make your money. So sometimes I've had to move on, and I've at least helped them to find a place that I had a landlord that I knew that had an empty place, and they worked it out. So by the same token, by having that rapport, I now can go back and say, hey, look, I want to connect y'all. You both have to talk because I'm not in the equation, the seller and them. But I tell the seller, if you'd like, I could get you another tenant buyer, or I could do something else. If they're in the mood to talk about it, and I'm in the ability, whether private lending or my own stash and I can do something to take over the property, I will.
That's a great question. I shared an amendment earlier a few weeks ago. Let me see if I can find it here. I don't remember. Does anybody remember where I put it?
Was
The
it about
amendment.
an amendment here?
Yeah. Well, basically, what it was just a tool. I'll find it here in a minute and put it in the chat room. But I think the first place I go when I get that resistance is well, what's the guarantee that they'll buy? I mean, there's no guarantee they'll buy. Well, sir, it seems to me like what's important to you is that these folks do what they say they're planning to do, and they make a commitment here and get it done. Is that right? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay, well, sir, if I were to change the agreements here instead of a lease with giving them an option to buy, if we just did a lease and a purchase and sale agreement and they made a commitment to buy, is that something that makes you feel more comfortable, and can we move forward with that, or maybe not?
Now that becomes 2 documents, by the way, but yes,
It does.
exactly what you said, but that changes it. I just want to tell everybody that now becomes 2 separate documents, still saying the same thing. And we're all still being transparent, but I just want to address it. Yes, you got to, if your seller's not comfortable with you and your intentions, you ain't going to get anything anyway.
That's right.
We've got to provide them with authenticity and follow through. And you don't want to take a half swing trying to come out of the sand trap. You're not ever going to get out. You got to really pull that club. You got to follow through with this customer and swing a lot harder than it looks, because the sandals carry the ball to the hole.
Yeah.
Sorry for
Yeah.
my sports metaphor, but
No, that's a good one, man. I use sports metaphors all the time too. That's where I dodge to with that one. I'll dodge to the lease purchase. Okay, if that doesn't work, it's like, well, they could still back out. Well, okay, sir, I understand your question. You sound like an old school guy like me. You do, you're good on your word, and you want these people to be good on their word too, the folks I'm putting in there, and I explained to him already that these are not normal renters. These are good people that want to buy the house. But he's like, man, there's no guarantee they're going to buy the house, and the lease purchase idea didn't really work for him. I'm now kind of cornered where I got to say something like this. Well, Mr. Homeowner, what exactly would it take for you to feel like these folks are the best fit for your property right now? What would it take to make you feel comfortable? Let him tell you, because he's probably wanting more money up front. Okay.
exactly.
All right. So don't let them just shoot you down because there's no guarantee. Guarantees don't mean dick shit nowhere, anywhere in the universe. Okay. Everybody knows that. So you want to just follow through with him, kind of ferret it out. What is it that he's really, really wanting here? What is it he's really wanting? He's want a guarantee, I'll write you a guarantee. I got one actually, and I'll share it with you as soon as I find the link. But
Well, it also follows through with when I know y'all train on buyer's remorse and things like that. What prevents them from likely having that? It doesn't matter if they get off the phone and tell you everything yes, and then next time they ghost you after that. If you don't close that feeling and make them feel warm and fuzzy about you, they're just going to gently go away anyway, and you're never going to get it you're going to attempt to start marketing, and then you can't find your seller. And so the point is, if you don't get that comfort level completely sealed off and they just know that you got this, you're going to leave that door open. And all you need is one other person, or even a realtor that's trying to get the listing, to go, hey, they can't do that. And, well, he's licensed. He must know what he's talking about. I say this because it's just happened to me here, like in the last 2 weeks. And my wife asked me, she goes, hey, are you going to tell him about the story about Miss Mary Ann? And I said, well, I didn't know if it'd come to that, but I was coaching her on a lot of different options. She then messed around. She went ahead and signed with an agent because the agent said she couldn't do this. And rather than contact me back, she signed with her. Now the agent, because the house needs a lot of upgrades and she don't have the money, she didn't like my cash offer, but I was giving her an option where we could have done something. She turned around and says, hey, can you help me now? Because all she's doing is showing it to investors. I said, that's a shame, because now she's going to take a commission for doing the same thing I was offering you. So, I'm sorry, but here's what I'm going to do. You're going to either cancel that contract or you're going to let it run out, because I'm not going to get into a litigious battle with tortfeasance. So when you cancel it and you can prove to me it's canceled, we're still going to wait a certain number of days. And then, because we can prove that we were talking long before you met the realtor, and we can't prove that, then I'll consider talking to you. Now, that's the same, but I'm not going to get involved with that dance. She chose to go down this road, and now she's been buffaloed by an agent because they feel like, hey, they're the ones that licensed and they know better. So if you know more than everyone else, you're always protected. And sometimes knowledge is power. You don't always have to release it. You have to know when to let a little bit out, just a little tug every now and then, because you got to remember, your client is a layman. They don't know. I didn't know how to spell ARV, So, I mean, there was a time when none of that meant anything, and we talk in super language between us. But what I had to go through and actually stop all that, even because I was actually talking to people on the phone, and because I'll move fast, but I realized I had to slow down, and I also had to talk very, very layman. Even if the client is a little bit more skilled, like it's a retired landlord or tired landlord, those are my best deals I can convert to owner finance. Man, praise God. But because guess what? I'm not going anywhere, and they still got the equity. So I'll use their dime all day long. But you pay more, and they're not always lease options, but sometimes they are. Sometimes they will do it. It just depends on the scenario. But you just have to know all these little things to put in your utility bill, because when that phone answers and whether it's you prospecting it or VA gives you the lead, however it comes in contact with you, you have to size up the situation and what is best for them. And if you can prove that you are giving them what they want and you're listening, then they're going to buy into you and close.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps or not.
Yeah. Good stuff. Any questions here in the Zoom room? Texas folks, anybody else with a question?
I got another one for you. Another 2 questions, Kenny.
No, come on. You're the only one talking. I think everybody don't like me.
I did put that amendment in the chat room here, by the way, too, gent.
Okay.
Let me give you one more thing. Does anybody have any ideas, or have you converted anybody in that, like, let's say they don't have a balance? Does anybody have an idea that what's a good way that you would want to close them real quick if they want more money than you can pay cash for? Sharonda?
Finance.
There's a magic word that I use. You may already know it, but again, I'm not talking real estate. And I'll say, hey, instead of dealing with all those taxes right now, Mr. John, would you consider just taking an annuity payment right now? I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I'm gonna tell you, it's a magic word when you're dealing with it. I dealt it with the heirs of probates or anything else. But when you say, hey, what if I paid you out an annuity payment? Now they're still paying the same amount of taxes, but it just don't feel as much, right? It'll just like take a little bit out of your check or a whole lot at the end of the year. So, they're still paying it, but man, you wouldn't have to pay all those taxes right now. I didn't fib. But why don't we trickle that in? Because guess what? That mailbox money is still coming in. They like that. And you can negotiate a deal. And many times when I've done it, I'm given the price, but I'm not even paying interest on the loan. So who cares if I paid $249 for the house when it's really worth probably $219? And I'm never paying for it anyway, because I'm gonna turn around and wrap it around. My contract allows me to wrap it around, or I wouldn't do it. I just want to give you that little nugget before you go, Jen, because it's just, words are your friend, and it's just changing things about their mindset. And I had to go through this too. And the more you can talk like real people and not real estate people, you become more tangible for them to, but you're right. You're going to talk owner finance, but I don't say it like that. I talk terms, I talk annuity payments, things like that. Now it is the same thing, but it just goes down a lot smoother and it comes out a whole lot better. Just thought I'd help you with that. So what was your question?
Yeah, I had 2 questions. So the first one was, I heard you talking about loan modification. Are loan modifications and lien modifications either like the same thing or similar things? And if they are, even if they aren't, are either one of those people who fall in that category, are they good candidates for lease options? I mean, do you want people who are in money situations to be in lease options, like a desperate money situation?
I'm marketing to them because I'm looking for a seller. You know, how I'm going to handle it depends on once I assess the situation and where we're going. I mean, if there's a lot of people with liens and hands in a cookie jar,
Yeah.
it's not a lease option. If it needs a lot of upgrades, it's not a lease option. You know, you got to remember the not so pretty house. I'll buy anything, but the house that's got the pictures you can steal online and it's already posted or was an expired listing. Whew,
Yeah.
That's a great lease option. You know, but I mean, it was already there. People were touring through it, but it didn't go. You know, so man, that's a candidate that probably is a real good. Play with your expired listings. I'm going to tell you anything you don't know. What you're asking about is probably not the number one thing. When I introduced that, it's just because I'm market to anybody. And I just wanted y'all to know that if you're not marketing to that, I don't hold anything back. My hands are open. I give anything away. So if you're not marketing to that, I just want to give that to anybody here. Find a way to get in touch with those or make relationships with bankers that have that connection. Anybody like that, you're actually doing them a favor. And there's privacy things, but there is ways to get the data. I just knew that one way, but if anybody's got another way, please share it back with the group because I'm open to other opportunities. Because when you market to people that are under loan mod, they need to do something. And we all know that there's a high percentage of point if they haven't even applied or they've applied, but you know, it's likely not going to happen because what they don't understand is, and I've had people when I used to door knock or talk on the phone, and I said, great, have you already got your account number and you're already, you know, it's already opened up. And when they don't realize that part of the company is not talking to the other part of the company. They're going to move right on ahead with whatever steamroll through the legal system, and the loan mod people are something else, and they're not talking to each other, and you statistically aren't going to get approved in most cases.
So are loan mods and lien mods the same or no?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would think a lien mod would be somebody had a lien and you worked out some kind of loan. I just have to reflect that, you know, that's a good question. I don't know if they're the same, but the only reason I market to the loan mods in the last year is because when the bubble pops, I wanted to have a rapport. There was a captive audience, and because the point is nobody's been going into foreclosure. I mean, it's just now a few things are starting to go through the courthouse, but it's very few. And then when the moratorium, is that the right word? When that really ends, if it doesn't get extended again, they still have 90 days. That's a lot of people don't realize. There's still 90 days before they can even start processing. The bankers have all told me and stuff. So if in case y'all didn't know that. So this is just a way to nurture just some people and select deals and kind of get some feedback on. So the ones that are talking to me, I'm talking back to them and just kind of taking the low hanging fruit, because there's going to come a day they may want to talk to someone they built a rapport with.
If you guys want to pursue the loan modification list as prospects, the lien modification is, from what I understand, a loan modification is the primary lender number one.
That's what I understood too.
Lien,
I really didn't know. I just assumed that was somebody leaning.
So that's a loan modification. A lien modification is a second loan of some type. Sometimes people loan modify a second mortgage. Okay, that is actually considered a lien mod rather than a loan mod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so if you're going to get lists, I would recommend probably getting either one of them would probably be good, but definitely the loan mod would be better than the lien mod.
Yeah, the reason why I asked is in PropStream, it does show lien mods, because I was trying to figure out, like, you know, how could I really make that work, you know, because it's a pain point. It's obviously a pain point. So when you started talking about loan mods, I was like, wow, are those things like the same or similar? Or,
you know, I'll have to ask Bert and Alcondo from PropStream how they look at it, because it might be that they consider all of it lien mods.
Oh, you think they've got them lumped in together?
They show lien mods in there. Yeah, they show lien mods.
Well, I knew they had it. I just never knew I just assumed it was seconds and stuff, but I didn't know.
My guess is chance is that they're the same.
Well, I think you're right about like the mortgage being the primary and then the rest of them being secondary.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree with that. I'm just saying if Mr. Johnson is on that list for second lien, lien mod, he's probably also on the same
Exactly.
list for loan mod.
That's what I was about to say.
You want to go where it's harder to get the information because that means less people have taken the time to do it.
Yeah.
Like it's taken me a long time to get a couple of places where I can get the water shutoff list. And I had to go through some gymnastics to get it. I've now gotten a utility shutoff list, which I didn't expect, but that was a bonus because it was combined in the city. But you want to fish where people can't fish or don't want to go to the trouble. And there's people that are there, they're not necessarily showing up. Whereas if I go in PropStream, I can never find water shutoffs, but I can find combined stuff with sewers. Well, they're not going to foreclose on that. But when the water shutoffs come, they're either repeatedly getting shut off. And so what we did was we set up kind of a percentage, like, you have different things you believe in, you want to donate to. Well, one of the things we wanted to do early 20 was set it up where we put up a certain amount of money that we could go in, and then I didn't actually form it as a legal charity yet, but I'm going to, but we just hadn't figured out what to name it or bother with it. But one of the things we would do, we could go in on behalf of our company, and that helped take the doors down. And I would get those leads. Now, these aren't necessarily for lease options. I don't know. I mean, so I'm just trying to get in front of them. That's just one utility bill thing I use, or tool. But it's getting those leads that most people aren't getting. And sometimes we offer to, if they just need a little hand up, we offer to donate and share and pay the bill or something like that. And we build a rapport. Chances are they're going to slip. It's going to happen again, but we build that rapport. We have gotten a deal off of that by paying a behind 2 month behind water.
Wow.
Before it got shut off, because they got shut off before and it got turned on. So they already knew they were slipping. And eventually that rapport was there, and they didn't owe us anything. They didn't have to, but we just built the rapport. Now they can't keep coming back and asking. It's like at the point, it's like a church, hey, we can only put out so much benevolence, but.
Well, that's too bad, because I got one of them water bills myself. They lump it together with the sewer and the electric here. It's all together.
That's what happens, and that's why with PropStream, when I'm looking in certain places where virtually or whatever, I'm getting them, but they're all, when they do the utility shut off, it's like everything, and you sift through there. I find most of the time it's sewer related. Chicago's that way.
Yeah.
There are a lot of sewer liens.
Interesting. Are there any questions? Any more questions? Texas stuff. We're running low on time here, guys. Let's push the tempo a little bit and do a lightning round. Any questions? I don't want anyone to leave unsatisfied. I want you to get yours. Anybody? Don't make Gent ask another one, y'all. I'm just picking on you, Gent. I love it, dude. Keep the questions coming, man.
I hope I helped you a little bit, guys. I was just trying to help anybody out. If anybody had any more questions or input or opinions, thoughts, or thought my mother dressed me funny today.
Actually, I'm blown away, man, because I thought it was way more complex than this.
No, that's the whole mystery behind it. And I was just here to open the raincoat and show you that, it's not complicated. You just need a few things. And other than that, just I wish you Godspeed and go make some money.
Okay, so everybody, the documents we talked about today, or he talked about, are in the chat room here. So get you a little folder on your desktop or wherever you keep your docs, and keep them there, and stop avoiding Texas, right? Because now you have the 2 additional documents that it comes on one document, one link, but they're both there, page 1 and page 2. Now you got it. So if you want to go into Texas, go into Texas. Is Texas fun? Anybody here fishing in Texas having a good time?
Anybody done a deal over here?
No, nobody is. Okay.
I want to.
Just saying there's
Wants to.
opportunity.
Okay.
There's opportunity everywhere. Just you got a great group here to lean back and ask advice. Justin's and his team is leading a great group. So you guys are in the right place. You got questions, you ask, and I hope I brought you some insight. Even if you're not in Texas, there's some of the wording that's what I wanted to give you all today. Just a few things to help you that may make the difference in you stretching a deal a different way and closing the die. So just wanted to give you some scenarios and some words I use.
Well, when I asked at the start of today, I asked it, who all here is interested in Texas, doing some Texas lease options. There was a bunch of people raise their hands. And then at the end, I asked, is anybody having fun fishing there already? And they were like, no, not really. So I think today is great because maybe you all want to, but you haven't had the right equipment. So now you got the right equipment. You got a little more confidence. You got to get rid of the fear and all of the, oh, it's illegal. You can't do that. You can't, I literally called the state down there. I called 2 or 3 state offices, state attorney offices. I was asking everybody I could find, hey, could you tell me how a lease option would work, or can it work in Texas? You can't do that, and well, you can do it, but I don't know how. So I don't know. I don't recommend it. All right. It was like I never could get, and I was getting different stories from this guy versus this guy and that guy and this guy and whatever. So today, with the laws being presented to you like this, where you can read them and understand them for yourself, dude, let's go have fun in Texas. Let's go do it. I'm kind of excited about it because I thought it was way more complicated than this. Does anybody else have any comments they want to add? What did you learn today? Anything?
I thought you literally meant fishing. The first thing popped in my head was Galveston, man. But nah, hey, that's the
You're going for flounder.
Was that?
You're going for flounder now.
But that's the reason why I was attracted to lease options here, because everybody, and I don't mean everybody, but the majority of the people here think that lease options are illegal. Yeah. So that's the beautiful thing about them, because and correct me if I'm wrong, Kenny, but that's where a lot of people think, right?
Yeah, that's why I was trying to tell you when you started. I have people that have challenged me, and take a breath. They're not challenging you personally, but the agent, you're cutting into their rhubarb. And now I'll get some good agents that actually either know and they know it already, it's real, or they're willing to listen to me. Therefore, they're able to work with me, which means if I've got a lead that hey, it's in the customers, it's in their best interest, sir. Would you mind, with your permission, if I refer you to one of my vendor brokers, because they're going to be able to take you all the way and get you all that money. Well, I didn't get anything out of that. I mean, I might get coffee or something, but there's a rapport built and everything. But guess what? I get access to the MLS for free. I get this. There's a rapport, and then I'll get a discounted listing. You want to take care of it, but you want to always work with people that aren't going to argue with you, and the thing. Like an attorney, just because they're an attorney don't mean they know everything. They're like the doctor. There's a doctor that works on the wrist and then one that works on the shoulder. And they're 2 different doctors because they know the general things about the body. Well, this here is a special thing that you can become fundamentally the specialist at. And then along with everything else, and just enhance your sales skills. So when you told me that time that you called Texas and ran into all that, I knew that that's very common. They're not trying to obfuscate you. They really, truly just don't know.
Yeah, that's what I picked up. It's like that's not in the vector of the universe that they are from,
So it's just easy to go, no, we don't do that,
Yeah, exactly. And I don't recommend doing it because I don't understand it, and I know you don't because you're asking me. So just stay away from it. That was kind of the attitude, for good old Texas folks. And well, anyway, question here: yes or no, true or false, Kenny? They instituted these laws somewhere like 1991 or something or whatever, but then
early 90s,
they've modified them over time, and they've been adjudicated and thought about and reworked. And so over time, things have settled down a lot and changed a bit too. So to make it what it is, what we discussed today, is it true or false?
That's actually not accurate, because these laws that in this lumping, they're not tied to real estate. So that actually has never really been changed and amended. You can go on that website. It's really, there's some things about that law package that change, but not that section.
So, so there's just a lot of really bad misinformation out there.
Oh yeah.
Somebody started.
Now, TREC it doesn't update often. That one document had been around since before I was in real estate investing.
Yeah.
And now it finally came to TREC 1.5, which is like, wow. So I don't know when 1.4 came out. It's been out for years. It's the same one I've used for years. So they just now amended that. But that has nothing to do with lease options because it doesn't fall under the TREC umbrella.
Okay, cool. I like it. Anybody got a question real quick before we call off for the day? All right, going once.
Hey, Kenny.
Coach Victor.
Hey, what's up,
Hey,
Justin?
Good to see
Hey,
you.
Kenny, good to see you, man.
good to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks for all the great info. Are you primarily focusing on lease options in Texas, or is lease option a sort of backup plan for you on a pretty house situation?
It's a it's just another tool. I don't want to say a backup plan, but I'm not heavily focused, no.
Okay,
Because
yeah,
ultimately, I want to wholesale. I need my now money, but as soon as I make my now money, I'm going, man, I sure do like that mailbox money. So, I'm trying to figure out how can I, even when I'm talking to them, and I know that it may be going down as a lease option, I'm still trying to figure out how can I eventually convert this off of lease option to something else.
yeah,
So, because if it's already in terms, well, then
Yeah.
it's just a
Yeah.
a little alligator shuffle to get me
Yeah.
to control it longer, because I don't get to control it like you can in another state if I'm doing it here. Now, if I go fish in Arkansas or Oklahoma or Kansas City, and then I can do the same thing. But here I'm just trying to figure out how can I work less hard later so that I can have more mailbox money. Because it's
okay.
easy to do a deal or two and pick up 10, 12 grand, and do a wholesale. But I think about tomorrow money, and that's what I look at that.
So I'm thinking if I could do a subject to in Texas
Mhm.
and then rent it out on my own, that's probably a better opportunity for me, right, than chasing a lease option. Anybody, Justin, you can speak on that if you'd like. Because I tend to target and try to, speak up on subject twos. The lease option for me, like I said, it's a backup plan.
Hey, we love sub
It,
twos, baby.
huh?
So we love sub twos, and then you can wrap them
Yeah,
around. You don't even have to rent it. If you want to scale it and rent it a while, if you want to turn around and do, R2O, rent to own, or if you
mhm,
want to convert it later to owner finance. Either way, it's a beautiful thing. You've got control of it, and the lengthy time. Like I was telling you about the one that I did convert, and I did have to show them the higher price for the house, but that's okay. I owner financed it, but took the large down payment. And but that's the point, is we can negotiate any way we want. There's just certain parameters that we discussed today. If you solely targeted for lease options, remember, you're only picking up the fee. That's
yeah,
nice. It's today money.
yeah,
But you want to look at everything you're learning here in this group,
Yeah.
how to do this. And that's why I didn't just talk about lease options today.
right,
Right.
I'm looking for, do you own it? Do you want to sell it? Okay, let's talk.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Texas seems to me like your ideal situation is to gain control. And then
Yeah.
it kind of changes the rules a little bit,
Yeah.
right? It changes
But
the rules.
that's
once you-
true. That's true if I was fishing in California or,
Exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
it's really it's that simple. It doesn't matter where I'm calling. I don't change my speed.
Yeah.
Are you the owner of 123 Main Street?
I am,
Are you interested in selling?
I
You're
am.
not interested in selling, are you? And then from there, they're going to take me where I want to go. Hell no. Okay, great, man. Sounds like you might need a Snickers bar. Let me get you one. I'll send you one over. And, if I can get them laughing, we got a response going. Because if I even get that and not a FU, and it doesn't stand for follow-up, then, we go on.
Nice.
So, but it doesn't matter what state I'm calling. I'm not going to shift gears. I just added all this stuff to my arsenal. And sometimes it's in the client's best interest when you eliminate the options, that it's not even a question about them getting any money. Sometimes it's just relieving them of the responsibility. The lease option may be the only option.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you have to know that when the time, that's why you're training right now. So different than getting ready for game day. Your game day is whenever that phone rings. So like I teach my salesman when I ran the BMW and Porsche store.
Yeah.
Your game days when that phone rings or when the customer walks in.
Yes.
That's when you're going to look
Yes.
up the details of the car.
Yes.
You've already lost, because I promise you, they already know more about the car than you. And
Yeah.
you've got to be ready to know where the car is they want, know which one they're looking for. Great, I don't have the one with that, but I have this one. Let me show you this one, and we'll go from there. And but you have to know. You can't be going like some weaker salesman. They didn't even know where their stuff was. When you're talking to somebody that you got a buyer on the phone, that's another thing. I forgot who it was. Justin knows it. Somebody always talks about, well, you don't do lease options unless you have the buyer. If I've got a contract, I'll get a buyer.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
what the point is, but there's people that market that way. They'll sell you a
Yeah.
course. How much did this cost y'all today? Cost us both about 90 minutes. I'm here. And, you know, my point is, you don't need to pay for this. I mean, you're paying for support right now. You don't buy this or pay for anything beyond
Right.
this.
Yeah.
You're in a great group,
Yeah.
but don't,
Dustin charged me 10,000.
I gave you a deal, dude.
Right. Wait a minute.
Don't tell everybody.
well, my point is that, you know, there's just, people do help each other. You know, you're in a great group and you're getting great support here. And that's the point. So anyway, good to see you again, Victor.
Hey, love you, dude. Kenny, that was awesome today, dude.
Yeah.
Love you, man. Thank you for this.
Well, it's good to see everybody. Take care.
Don't be a stranger, man.
No, I need to join in more often. I'm busy doing my thing. It's not sexy. It's not nothing. It's just me right here doing my deal. So
Yeah.
it's not, I'm just pedaling the bicycle like you guys.
How do we get a hold of Kenny to do a deal in Texas?
What's that?
How do we get a hold of you if we need to do a deal in Texas?
Oh, y'all can just email me. My email's right there, info@LoneStarKeyProperties, or you can find Kenny Wright on Facebook. I'm easy to find. Justin's got my track me down, but I mean, guys, it's easy to get me.
All
Just so you
right.
guys know, all the Facebook stuff is down right now.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, WhatsApp is down too, because my son's in Germany
Yeah.
serving, and
IG and everything is down.
And my VA just texted me privately when we were getting on, and she's, Kenny, I want you to know everything's going on without a hitch, but WhatsApp's down. I'm going, what? So Facebook's down too?
Mm-hmm. And so
Yeah.
is IG.
Well, what am I going to do today? Damn you, Facebook.
What about YouTube?
Now YouTube's up.
Google is
Oh,
out.
Okay,
YouTube,
cool.
YouTube
So
is
I'm
Google.
Google's good.
Yeah,
Wow.
Google's good. Yeah.
I couldn't get to the meeting in Google today like normal. I had to go
Yeah.
through DuckDuckGo.
Must be solar flares.
There you go.
Love you guys. Hey, have a blessed day. Get on the
Hey,
phone,
thanks,
make a
Kenny.
few phone calls today. Start your week out right. Try to get some momentum going. Don't wait till Wednesday. All right, let's get
Yes,
working.
sir.
Love you guys. I'll see you tonight. Deal Laboratory. Coach Steve, 8:00. Bring some deals or don't bring some deals. It's up to you, but I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Guys, go make yourself some money. Nobody deserves it but you. Go.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ken.